is Sarah, and I work with the Living Archives Project, where we are collecting stories of how COVID-19 impacted various communities in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. Today is August, I think 14th, yes, 2023, and I'm here with two incredible people to hear their story. Would you both like to introduce yourself?
Yes, please. Hi, my name is Elijah Corbett. I'm a 10-year-old. I'm African American. I have short, black, curly hair, and yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Elijah.
I'm Jasmine Corbett. I'm 45 years old. I have on green today. It was the first day of school, so I wanted to show a new beginning, so I wore that today. I am tall with curly hair and freckles.
Awesome. And I'm assuming, Jasmine, that you are Elijah's mom, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So we're super excited to have you guys and to talk about how the pandemic impacted you and your family and your community. So maybe let's start with, how long have you guys lived in Charlotte, in the Charlotte area?
I'm from Charlotte, but I have moved away, but Charlotte is home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how about you, Elijah?
My whole life.
Your whole life? Oh, amazing. So you're both Charlotte natives.
Yes.
You know, I've been told I am not a Charlotte native, and I have been told that that's pretty rare.
Yes.
So you guys are some very amazing, unique unicorns, you know? So tell me about living in Charlotte. Do you enjoy it?
Yes.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing?
I like a lot of the restaurants they have here. Downtown restaurants and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Like that.
Cool. And how about you, Jasmine?
I like the art scene. What's happened in the last few years is very nice. The museums and the festivals and the fairs, very family oriented. I like that stuff.
Yeah, I love that as well. That's amazing. So before we started, we did an activity together called a hand map. Jasmine, would you like to kind of talk a little bit about your hand map, whatever you would like to share with us?
Sure.
Yeah.
So to describe myself, I put a book because I feel like I'm intelligent. I put a mom that was juggling all sorts of things because I'm a busy mom. I put myself as a younger version of myself with my mom because I think I'm a good daughter. I put the word creative, but I have it going down because I think I'm a creative person, so I wanted to do that a different way. And then I put a heart because I think I'm loving.
Awesome. Anything else you want to share?
As far as who helped me outside of my hand, I put God. That's who I choose to look to in my life. I also put Michelle Obama as far as her book Becoming. It's on my bookshelf in my home office because that book really changed my life. And I put my mom and my son, of course, and we have a favorite aunt in common, and so I put her. She was very helpful to us in the pandemic.
Awesome. I love that. How about you, Elijah? Would you share some things from your hand map?
Yes. I think I'm a very funny person. I have a lot of humor, so I put that. I'm very smart. I'm caring. I'm creative, and I put I'm fast. I'm pretty fast. And then the one thing I gained was more intelligence, because my mom and my nana would still help me during COVID, so I wouldn't lose any intelligence. And then some things that were fun or a little journey, camping, traveling, and then not having my phone anymore. And yeah, when I hear the word COVID, I get anxious and sad sometimes.
Well, thank you for talking about that. When you say you don't have your phone anymore, what does that mean?
I lost it, or I lost it physically. I don't know where it is.
Got it. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I bet. So, Elijah, you talked about some pretty big things in your life. Can you tell me, what was the last 3 years of your life like?
I was kind of sad. I didn't really get to do what I wanted to do, and COVID kind of made me mad. So I didn't really like it at all. So yeah.
What was the hardest thing for you?
Not being able to do what I used to do. Just having to stay at home most of the time. Not really getting to see my friends that much. So I think that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. And has that changed? Have you been able to spend more time with them now?
Yes, being back in school and stuff.
Yeah.
I was super excited. And I feel like I have my old life back.
Yeah. So tell me about, that time where you weren't in school. Was that challenging for you?
I didn't like COVID at all, but I was happy to stay with my mom and my Nana because I knew I had someone there with me. So, but I also didn't really like staying at home because I like to go and play stuff with my friends. And I had to sit in my kids' cave to do Zoom with my teachers, so.
Okay, so you live with your mom and your Nana?
Yes.
Okay, and what's a kid's cave?
A kid's cave is like my little playroom that I made when I was very young, maybe 5.
Okay.
And I have a lot of toys in there, and I have a lot of things to play with in there, so yeah.
And tell me, at the beginning when COVID first happened, a lot of people thought we would just go home for like a week or 2. How did it feel for you when it was longer?
I was kind of shocked. I didn't really I didn't really know what COVID was, to be honest, because we were having a family reunion kind of on Zoom, saying hi to each other. I didn't know why it was on Zoom yet, and I think maybe a little bit after someone said we're in a pandemic or something, so we had to stay inside so we wouldn't get sick.
Yeah. And was it kind of weird having a family reunion on Zoom?
Yes, I didn't really understand it because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
He just told me that, and that's when I heard of COVID.
Yeah. And when you first heard of COVID, what was going through your mind, if you can remember?
I needed more explaining, really. It was kind of sad because I knew I wasn't going to see my friends regularly. We drove around some, but didn't really get out the car, and we had to wear a mask, so.
Yeah. And what was that like for you, wearing masks? Because I know it was kind of weird for me, and I can't imagine. I mean, you were 8 years old?
8.
7 or 8?
8, 7, and 6, maybe.
Okay, and so what was that like? When you saw people wearing masks everywhere?
It was so annoying. It hurt my ears.
Yeah. You had to concentrate, right?
Yes, and when my mask used to be down, my mom would say put it over your nose, but then I got a little used to it, so I would always keep it over my nose.
And so in that season where you were at home and you had to do your school on Zoom, is that correct?
Yes.
What was that like?
I didn't really like it, but then it felt like school was a little shorter because my cousin was there. She was we Zoomed in different areas of the house, so I had mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And was it nice to have your cousin there with you? So, even though you did Zoom in different spots, was it nice to have someone else kind of going through that with you?
I knew I wasn't alone, and then we would have little breaks in between Zoom, like 2-3 minute breaks, so I could go talk to my cousin, and she would have them too.
Okay. And who else was at home with you? Was your mom home or
my
Nana?
My mom would Zoom in the office. It's basically an office. And she would Zoom in the office. And my Nana would Zoom in her room.
Okay. And are you someone, Elijah, that, you like to talk to a lot of people at school?
I'm very talkative.
Yeah.
Not during class, though. But I'm
No,
talkative.
yes, you respect your teachers, right? Yes. So what was that like, not being able to, see your friends and talk to your friends and see your teacher in person? How'd you feel?
Well, during 2nd grade, that's when that's when Zoom basically got more useful, I guess, and more, I got used to it. So during 2nd grade, I didn't get to see my teacher for like half of it. And for the other half, I got to see my teacher. So it was weird not really knowing who she was at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And then now let's, zoom a few years later, now you're back in school, right?
I was happy, but then I got so used to Zoom that I was like, oh, school again.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you didn't want to really get up sometimes, right? Yeah. Was it interesting for you doing, like, some students told me that they would do Zoom in their pajamas. Did you do that too?
I think a couple of times.
Okay.
I think a couple of times, and then sometimes I would still get ready. So.
Yeah. But now, I'm assuming you can't go to school in your pajamas.
Only on pajama day.
Oh, yes, pajama day. You're right. And so when you got to go back to school and see your friends and talk with them and see your teacher, how did you feel then?
I was glad to know my teacher more than I did during 2nd grade. My teacher that I had during 3rd grade, she was really nice and good because I was getting back in the swing of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked that.
And were there any of your classes that were really hard for you to kind of, transition from Zoom in person, and how did that feel?
It was interesting, kind of weird.
Yeah? Was there any particular class that kind of stood out to you, or kind of all of them?
What do you mean by that?
Like some students struggled with, for example, gym class. Like doing gym class on Zoom was a little challenging. And then when they got to go back in person, it was really fun because they got to go in the gym and, but it was also a little challenging because they had to wear masks. Did you experience that too?
Yeah, during when we had the classes on Zoom, it was kind of weird. It wasn't really that fun because on our gym teacher, we did exercises, which wasn't fun. We didn't get to play games like we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
I understand because we couldn't really play games on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And then my Spanish teacher, we got to do Kahoots, which that was pretty fun. And we still do Kahoots in Spanish class on Spanish. So.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to ask your mom a few questions. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Jasmine, tell me a little bit about your experience, as someone who is a professor at a college institution. Tell me about what that was like, and also being a mom and transitioning.
Yeah, you're right. We thought we were going to be home for a week. I never went back, so we went home March, I believe, and I didn't see my office for another year. So that was a bit unexpected. I think I left a light on and, just different things. My computer was still up, so I didn't shut down everything. But my priority was Elijah because not knowing what that would look like for him. I could adapt and pivot, but he was 6, or he's what is it? You turn the next age a little earlier than other people. So your birthday's in April. So he was 7, still in the 1st grade.
Okay.
So he was going into 2nd grade, but he was still in the 1st grade when it all happened.
Yeah.
And his teacher, I remember, and I liked her a lot, and she wrote me and said, "I'm not worried about Elijah. He'll be fine. I need to focus on some other kids," which was good in a lot of ways, that she trusted me, but I was like, I need help. I don't know what to do. But we had to figure it out. So I think we were on our own for about 2 weeks, and I was just teaching him, or my mom would help when I was in class. And so my students went back home, and they're freshmen. I primarily teach freshman students. And so to go back home after you build a connection, that was hard. And so dealing with their anxieties, because I think it brought out anxiety in everybody, but dealing with them and trying to deal with Elijah. So there's many times, even in that year, Elijah would be sitting on the floor in the office, Zooming himself or doing homework, and then I'm in class. So that was a little challenging. Food schedule was off, so he could eat breakfast at 10, and then he's hungry again at 12. So I'm in class. So how do you do that? And then he's off and he has to do homework within 30 minutes. I'm in class, so how does that work? So it was tough. It was tough being mom, professor, whoever you are outside of those roles. It was a little challenging.
Yeah. How did you balance it all?
I like to walk, so at that, because nothing was open, so I had a gym, but I let it go because you couldn't go in, so I would walk. I try to get him to walk sometimes, but Elijah doesn't like outdoors too much with the noises of animals. So I would just go by myself sometimes, or we have movie night, so we started doing that. Just any way to just, he's right, we would take drives, even though we couldn't get out a lot of times. We would just take a drive, eat somewhere that was, even if it was in a car, we would go get something to eat, go somewhere and eat in the cars, or he would eat in the trunk because I had the SUV. You can sit in the back. Just anything that it wasn't. We're just home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine. I heard some mothers talk about their experience of how it was like they had to balance work, raising their kids, and also making breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks. Like it was just constant.
It was constant. It was like camp. No, it was like summer school or summer overload. It was, and even in meetings sometimes as a professor, and I get it, students were complaining, and I understand because no one had a framework of what this should look like, but there were sometimes I was in meetings like, I can't hear another thing that we're doing wrong. Because we're hanging on by a thread like students. We have kids at home, or my mom is not what you would call elderly, but those who did have to deal with parents who were older. I think it affected everybody, and the one thing I didn't like about COVID, it became a blame game. We didn't see each other as a community. Like, you're dealing with something, he's dealing with something, I'm dealing with something. It was a very silo event, in my opinion.
Really? Tell me more about that.
I don't know. It was just, we started having these, and I mean a society, so we started having these wars about vaccination. I mean, everybody has their reason for or against. We started having, parents, and I understand, but I want my kid in school now. But what does that look like? Is it safe? Do teachers feel safe in K through 12? What about the principal? He or she's never been here before. So So I understood the argument on both sides, but it was like it didn't have to be an argument. Restaurants, where nobody's coming in and tipping, well, nobody feels safe enough to come in. So it just felt like a tug of war between everyone, and that was exhausting. It was very tiring to hear arguments all the time or read about arguments on social media all the time.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you're a professor for predominantly freshman students.
Yes.
And what was that like, especially starting off the second year with students being completely remote? What was that like? How was building relationships?
It was, well, I like to credit, I won Teacher of the Year that year.
Shut up,
I did, yes. And I have my students, they fill in the blank, and I say, I won Teacher of the Year when? And they say, in COVID. Because it's funny. But I knew, and Elijah really helped me, which is why he's on my sheet as the outside people, is who helped me, because looking at it from his perspective as a student, I knew there are other students, even if they're 10 years older than he is, there are other Elijahs. They just might be further along in their journey, but there are other Elijahs.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to create an online environment that was still a community. So it was really my classroom just on this screen. And I remember I met a student a year later when we went back, and she said, Miss Corbett, and I said, yes. And she said, I had you my fall semester on Zoom. And she said, you did that. She high-fived me, and I was like, I did. I mean, not to be arrogant, but I did. I created kind of like an advisory board where they could, of professionals that I look up to, and some are family friends that they could tap into. So my mom was one of them, that if they needed to talk about class, even though my mom is not a professor of what I teach, they could reach out to her, and they had to do up to 3 times, reach out to their community. How do I do this? Miss Corbett wants me to write this email. She says my email's not good enough. Tap into somebody else. And the reason I did that is stop being siloed, stop being isolated, that there's other ways we can create a community. Even if it looks like this, we can create a community. And so I think it helped, and it helped to keep us on focus, and it helped to keep us on track. And there's some, out of the students that I taught that year, there are probably still 30 that I talk to regularly on my phone, text message. Wow. We follow each other on Instagram or Facebook. Jasmine, because we built a community. Yeah,
I love that. Tell me a little more about that process, especially, let's say a pandemic were to happen again, and there's a teacher or a professor watching this later on. Tell me, like, what did you start? What did you see worked, and maybe what didn't work, and how do you continue to build that community?
That's probably the biggest part of my class is a community. My dad, he's passed away, but the one thing that would make my dad mad is if you were mean to a friend. I mean, you would go to your room, and where other parents would be like, oh, if you steal the car. But my dad, if you were mean to a friend, you were in your room until you apologized. And so that aspect of community I learned long ago. And so really starting there, because you can't get, normally in person I can get the feel of the class, and I can get, these two people don't really get along, but you didn't have that on the screen. So really just a lot of discussion board posts, mine were videos where they could just, I wasn't there present, while they're recording, but they could just talk to me. And, I watched everyone and I'm writing notes. Feedback is important. So you have to make that a part of your class if you're trying to build a community, because if they do the work, they want to know that you went over it. They want to know that you watched it. They want to know that you laughed at the part that they wanted you to laugh at. So I was working probably more at home, but it was worth it to see the output. And so I do that now. I do discussion boards, and I watch every video. Sometimes Elijah will pull up beside me and say, let's watch them. And he'll tell me how to grade them. Oh, they did good. Oh, no, I don't like that. But will he be a teacher? I don't know. But he sees what I do as far as trying to build a community. And he takes that to heart in his own little ways. Elijah builds a community himself. And I know that's something he's learned in our house, how to do that. And so that's for a new teacher, seasoned teacher. It starts there. You have to build a community that they trust you. Yeah. And if they don't, they're not going to produce. They're not going to do the work. And I had the highest grades probably in COVID, A's and B's, because they trusted me. Yeah. They knew my story, and I'm a storyteller. That's how I teach. But I was telling them my son is home, and my son is sitting right here. My son has anxiety. He doesn't like this. I mean, I'm willing to share as much as possible and necessary to get them to see that what I'm asking you to do, I'm doing it too, right? I'm trying to figure this out and figure out what this looks like, and if we never go back, will this sustain us? I mean, those are all the questions I had, but I knew I had to do my job. Yeah. And not for a paycheck, but I just knew there was, again, Elijah's on the other side of that screen that needed me. And so I put my cape on and I showed up. Yeah.
I love that. How about you, Elijah? Tell me, what was that like watching your mom kind of having to work from home and also take care of you, and tell me about that.
So I knew my mom was kind of going through a lot. Like, I knew she was going through a lot. So I would often talk to her and say, you're doing good, try to make her happy again. And I said, you always find a way out of this. And then she would go back to herself and she would start working again. I knew it was a little bit tough for everyone, but yeah.
And your mom mentioned that you would watch some of those videos with her. What was that like, watching some of these college students talk about their lives?
So her students would make like slideshows with background music, etc. It was really nice. I thought they were cool. It had facts about them and then facts about other people. And then I would like to help her grade. Like, I remember there was one time during COVID, I think. I might have been 8. There was one time, and me and my mom were looking at her students' grades. I was like, you should give that person a D, and she actually agreed with me and gave them a D. Well, that was fun.
I I love that. Oh man. So tell me, Elijah, was there fun stuff that you got to do with your mom that when you look back, you're just really thankful for that time you spent together?
So I did like to, I do like to go out with my friends, but I got to play more games with my mom, like we would play hide and seek, and I really valued that, so that was cool.
Yeah.
We still play games like Keep Yuppie where you can't let the balloon touch the ground.
Yeah.
So.
I love that. And so Jasmine, tell me, as someone who it seems like community is really important to you, and Elijah mentioned that you guys had to do your family reunion on Zoom, and what was that like?
That was challenging. He's right. I don't think he understood it. And my mom turned 70 during COVID, and we had to do her birthday party on Zoom. You remember that? So there was some milestones but I'm big on, you're right, on community and family. I didn't want him to miss those milestones. So Christmas, we did a Christmas party on Zoom. That was fun though.
Yeah.
And we did it on purpose the following year. Like we just did it on Zoom. It was different, but I think I want him to see family and I want him to be resilient. And I know we toss that word around kind of easily, but I want Elijah to always know there's other ways to do things. Like you don't have to just do it this way. I hate those things that say, you've been doing this wrong for years. I don't care. I want to do it how that works for me and how that makes sense. And I want him to learn how to do that. So the first family thing was a little like, oh, this is a bummer, but how to make it fun, right? We're here. We can't be together. But what do? We can sit here and stare at each other, or we can have some games and some cahoots and play some music and show some pictures. So that's what we did. And I think he helped me plan the Christmas party. And then Mom, his Nana, she did bingo on Zoom. And she's terrible. She's terrible because she goes so fast. I-10, J9. And we're like, wait. But it was so much fun. And she would have gift cards, and my best friend and her children came on Zoom, and my brother and my aunt. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
So we found ways to have a good time, even if we couldn't be together.
I love it. I love it.
We always found a hole to like dig in.
Yeah.
And how, Elijah mentioned that his cousin was doing Zoom at home with you guys. How was that?
So I think it helped them, both his cousins. So there's Ezra, that's my nephew. So he's 15. So gosh, in COVID, he might have been 12 maybe. Sage is a year behind Elijah. So if he was 6, she was 5. I think having them together. So we created Corbett Christian Academy. Is that what we call it? So everybody had their own lessons for school. And then my mom, being a former principal, was all about supplement. So she even got the standards from North Carolina. She knew what each child was supposed to be learning. She's amazing. And so my nephew was on track, and my niece and Elijah. And then we would come together. We did Black History lessons. So we did the superhero, and you came up with Civil Man. What would your superhero be called? So they're still on the cave door. We taught, then we had another Black History lesson, and he did a portrait on Biggie, and my niece did a portrait on Henrietta Lacks, so that was really good. And we were singing songs. We did a lot in Corbett Christian Academy.
That's why I gained more intelligence.
Yeah, when he went back, I think all of them were really good. No slide or anything like that. That was important to us. Yeah.
I love that. And so how long was Corbett Christian Academy established for?
At least Ezra went back first because he was in private school. So I feel like he went back first, but about a year.
Wow.
And even now we'll fall back on it, like on a teacher work day if we don't have anything planned, or I think on a couple of snow days we've done Corbett Christian Academy.
And I remember one time Ezra and Sage were coming and they were late. I was like, where are they? So I got a piece of paper. I ripped it off. I ripped off like a little slip. I writ tardy on it, and when they came, I was like, here's your tardy slip.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's so funny.
He did. But it kept us organized, I think, and kept us together.
Yeah.
And, allowed us to laugh and not make it so, terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I bet you got to just get a little closer to your cousins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. On your spare time, did you guys play games together and have fun too?
Yes, doing our breaks, and we would have to spend a lot more time to each other, so we kind of got used to it, and we would just play together.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing to play with them?
I knew I would play on my Nintendo Switch, and I didn't really want to let her play. I'm a little selfish. I didn't really want to let her play because I was playing on my Nintendo Switch. I thought she was going to mess up the controller. I let her play some games, and then some games were just me playing. So I would play on my Nintendo Switch, and then my mom would say, let her play. And I was like, I'm playing a one-player game, so that was a good excuse to get me out of it. And yeah, I kind of got to play with her a little more. So, and now she doesn't play with me on the Nintendo Switch anymore.
No.
But I still play with her games. So
Nice. And how often do you get to see them now?
almost every Saturday. Wow. About every Saturday during weekends, or a special event that they invited us to, or we invited them to, or vacation, stuff like that.
Yeah. Sounds like to me that your family is very close.
We are. We're loud. Very loud.
Very loud.
Sage is the loudest.
But, being loud, and I'm assuming you guys have fun together.
We
That's
do.
a fun time.
We do. We are loud.
So tell me, as especially it seems like you guys are both so family oriented and community oriented. What was that like? How did you see your family impacted, and how did you navigate that?
During COVID, I didn't really get to see my cousins that much because we were still getting settled. This is at the start of COVID. We were still getting settled on what happened, and my Nana would watch the news to learn a little bit more about it. But then that's how we didn't really get to see each other. My great aunt, I didn't really get to see her. And I didn't really get to see my dad that much because of COVID as well. And yes, I would share something, but I don't think.
It's okay. Whatever you want to share. You good? Okay.
And yes, so I didn't really get to see them that much at the start of COVID. But then during the middle, we got a little used to it, and we were seeing each other again.
Okay. And how was it for you not being able to see your dad as often as you would like?
It was interesting. It was kind of weird not seeing him, on the schedule. It was kind of weird. So, yeah.
Okay. And how about now? Do you get to see him again?
Yes.
And how's that?
It's fun.
Okay. What do you do with your dad?
We watch movies. He lets me play on my Xbox with my friends. We sometimes go to Carolina Beach, and we visit my cousins on his side.
Okay.
So that's it.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. How about you, Jasmine? Tell me about, how your family and community was impacted and how you navigated that.
My brother, so he's a lawyer. So he was, again, out of court, and then court ended up being on Zoom. So seeing him navigate that was kind of interesting. In the beginning, we didn't see my niece and nephew because my nephew took COVID very seriously. So he didn't really want to see anybody. And when he came to the house, I remember the first time, he stood in the door and was still masked up. So getting used to that. And then when we realized the kids were going to be out of school, that's when the Corbett Christian Academy started. Elijah's right. He didn't see his dad for, I think, a few months. And dealing with that, as far as the schedule, I think Elijah didn't have to travel quite as much, so then that became a bit of a woosah for him. But then again, Elijah, he has a big heart, so just making sure, everybody is okay. And his dad had a friend at the time, and so not able to see her because he's close to her as well too. So, and then his cousins on his dad's side, he's close to them. So again, just being a kid and having to navigate all of that and talking to people through FaceTime and stuff like that. And that side is a little older. So wondering, there were times we would wonder, like if Elijah had a cold, does he go? Or what does that mean for that side? Or, do I keep him home? I mean, it was a lot of things, and it wasn't even from an unselfish place. It was just, this is different, and I don't know what this is, and I don't want his sniffle to be why you may get something else. And so it was a lot to navigate that particular thing, the back and forth. That was a lot. And then my mom is 73 on Saturday and had just come out of, and it's funny how COVID happened. My mom had been real sick. Was it that December before? Where she almost passed. And got out. She got out January 1, and then in March COVID happened. So again, when Elijah did start the visits again, coming back, okay, now what's going to happen? I mean, so it was a lot of trying to navigate that as the adult child, as the mom, as the co-parent. It was just a lot of moving parts that created a little stress, a little anxiety in myself, but it eventually kind of worked its way out. Then I think that was really at the height when people didn't know what this was, and numbers just kept doubling and tripling. It's just like, what is happening here? So it was scary. Yeah, for sure.
And you mentioned earlier when you were talking about your hand now that God is a big part of your life. Do you have you attended a church regularly, or? Yeah, we do. We go to church. It's Weeping Willow, great pastor there. Shout out to Rico White. But for me, God is just, especially in that. And as he said, there were days, and that's why I think I have the mom juggling everything, because I had to juggle a lot. And some people may not, again, his dad may never have known that his side of the family was a concern for me. Like, I want to make sure they're okay too. That was something I was going through. But God for me is, even now, is just a constant, is a present, what I need. Because there's just, even without the pandemic, there's just stuff now. It's just crazy. But definitely during the pandemic, for sure. I'm praying in the morning. I'm praying constantly. Yeah. It was a big part of your life, and just how you overcame some of the
challenges. Absolutely. My semester that we went into the fall was called Revival. I have themes when I teach, and so it was called Revival, and it was like, whatever that means for you. For me, it means starting over and hitting a reset. But what does it mean for you is absolutely your journey, absolutely what you want to share. Does not have to be God related at all. And those are some beautiful projects. What their revival was. I'm going to come out of COVID and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to get back closer with my family. I'm going to reconnect with my dad. I'm going to reconnect with my mom. It's just different things. For me, it was, all right, this is it. I'm his mom. I'm his person that he counts on. I'm her daughter. I'm their aunt. I'm his sister. And okay, let's hit a reset and let's go. COVID happened. It's here. But how do you move forward? So that was kind of my mindset.
And for you, in those moments where, what did self-care look like for you?
Oh gosh, I don't think I did my hair at all. Oh my gosh, self-care? He's laughing because he's probably like, she did nothing. I don't know. I would every day, and he's right. Sometimes he would be in his pajamas, but he bathed every day. We made sure of that. And if you want to put back on your pajamas, that was fine, but it might be a new set. For me, I would bathe every day, but it might be some leggings and a t-shirt I'm putting on, or a ball cap or something. But we laugh a lot. To me, that's part self-care.
Yeah.
We affirm each other a lot. So throughout the day, I love you too. This is throughout the day. This is what we do. And sometimes when he's out the office, class was done, I would keep the office door shut and just breathe. Like I got through one class. Because I had 4 classes, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, back to back. Wow. And yeah, it was boom, 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 boom. And at 2 o'clock, when class was done, I would shut the computer and just be like, thank God. I mean, I made it. But the schedule helped, though, however, because on Tuesdays I could dedicate solely to Elijah. On Thursdays I could dedicate solely to Elijah, and get him caught up. Yeah. But it was tough. That schedule was a hard one. Yeah. In COVID. Yeah.
I bet. How about now? What does that look like?
So the schedule it's different, but now I think, and I was just telling my students this today, like I think we still live in a COVID mentality place, even how we talk with each other, and even how we share, and even how we build a community. And that's one thing that I think if anyone had to say, well, what is your work now? It is how to move past that isolation, or how to move past. I never thought I have to, speak for real. I thought I could text my way through life. And I think that's what I want to do. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. And he's in a lot of different things that he wants to be in. And I want to support him in that. Elijah wants to do acting and do Boy Scouts and do tennis. And now one thing it did teach me, though, was how to do things in a smart way. Okay. Because at one point we were like all over town. Okay. And during COVID, when everything shut down, we couldn't do anything. We were just home. And I was like, I'm going to redo all of this. He can do whatever he wants to do, but it's going to be a nice little circle. Because so we're not traveling all over. And that works now. So where he goes is close to the house. Good. Everything. On the weekends, we travel a little, further if need be. But that works for me so that he can do the things he wants to do versus driving 25 minutes and he's asleep by the time we get there. Yeah. So supporting him, helping him know there's more things to life beside the phone and the tablet. There's a life out there. And then teaching my students the same. There's a life out there. Go claim it. Go get it.
I love that.
Yeah. If I may.
Yes, please.
During COVID, I was on my electronics a lot. And so when COVID ended, I'm still on my electronics, but now I have some things to do. Like I have Boy Scouts on a Monday. I don't do it until the school year starts again. I have tennis on Wednesdays. I don't do it during summer, but I'm gonna start again. And I'm auditioning for a play. So I have a lot more things to do, but I'm active, I guess.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. Do you enjoy being active?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you enjoy getting out and not being inside all the time too?
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'm not a big player outside. I don't really like to play outside, but I do like to go out with we go somewhere.
Yeah. And what play are you auditioning for?
Matilda.
Whoa. What part do you want?
Bruce.
Okay. Are you excited?
I'm excited but nervous at the same time. How do I remember my lines?
I bet. Well, practice, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll be practicing today.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to ask you, because a lot of things happened over these last 3 years. Mm-hmm. How, did any of those things impact you? There was a few, Black Lives Matter, mm-hmm. and what that looked like, and especially here in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. How was your family and you individually impacted by that?
I think for sure. I remember, and not to get so political, but I remember sitting in the office at home, getting done with class, turning on the TV, which would be my routine, and after taking a moment just to be like, thank God, and I saw the insurrection, and I remember what? I remember that, and And no matter who did what and who people are blaming for what, I remember seeing that and thinking, wow, and wondering, was he looking at it? Because it was on all the news channels, so whatever he was watching, it cut in. So wondering, was he seeing that? I think we did talk about George Floyd and what that meant. Elijah and I have always been honest about his blackness and his maleness and what those both mean as he gets older. And so, yeah, we were home for a lot of this that was happening. And I think that's why we included Black History in Corbett Christian Academy. Again, you are nothing to be scared of, right? And so we can't control outside, but we can make sure up here, you're nothing to be afraid of. And so some things we didn't let them see. But then it was just everywhere, and kids were home. So, some of the school stuff, and that was probably tough as a parent, finding out how to balance that and in this world, and then you're just home in this isolation, if you will. So that was tough. You want to share? Yeah.
As I said, we would take car rides. I remember one car ride, we put our mask on. It was like downtown Charlotte or something. And there were so many paintings for Black Lives Matter. So that kind of inspired us to take action.
Yeah, I remember I took him there purposefully. I wanted him to see, and it's gone now with the people traveling and walking in rain and weather. But I wanted him to see that. I didn't get to, I drove, and my mom came with us and she got him out, and he just needed to see that. I needed him to see that.
My cousins were there too.
Yeah.
My uncle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was important. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share?
I think I'm good.
You think you're good? I'll just say maybe going back to work was tough. I didn't realize. I think I realized, but I didn't. And I tell my students this story. My first day of going back to work, Elijah got to the front door and stood in front of the door and was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, I've been home all year." And now he's like, "What is this thing called work?" Where you have to go outside of the house. And I realized then, consciously, and I think maybe I knew subconsciously, but I realized consciously I was his person.
Yeah.
And so I honor that, and I don't share that to embarrass him. I share that, I honor that driving into work, and I've known it. I mean, of course, it's my kids, my buddy, but I knew I had been his person that year. That however he tells his children the story of COVID, Mom, as crazy as she is, will have some type of great role in his memory, and I honor that greatly. That I had helped him as topsy-turvy as I felt, that I had managed to be some sort of stability for him. Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. I never told you that, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. I always love to just end with one last question. Is there a story or an experience over the last 3 years that you guys want to share? I mean, it could be COVID related or non-COVID related. Anything before we finish our time together?
Trying to think. It's COVID related. During the start of second grade, I had to meet everybody on Zoom, and I didn't really like it because I wanted to meet them in person. And then when I went back to school towards the end of second grade, only some people came and other people were still at Zoom. So I didn't really get to know everyone.
Was that hard for you?
It was hard and interesting at the same time, and was weird. And I wish I got to know more people, because there was literally only 10 people in my class that year, because others were learning on Zoom.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
I think for me it was just, and one word I wrote down was, two, is resilience and strength. And I think we have this saying, Corbett's never give up. And there's sometimes he'll tell me this, I want to stop something. He's like, Corbett's never give up, Mom. But we really showed who we are. Like, really did. And we had some good laughs, and we had some moments of, I'm sick of this. But we really showed who we are. And I'll never forget Corbett Christian Academy. I'll never forget Civil Man. I'll never forget some of the things that we did together because we stuck together.
Yeah.
And I hope that for all families, whatever your family looks like I hope everybody had a village. Like, really, truly do. I hope that people had someone or someones that they had like we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you both so much. Jasmine, Elijah, your stories are incredible, and I appreciate it, and I don't take it lightly. It's an honor and a privilege to hear your story, and I'm touched by it, so thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.